Welcome to another production of Source Selection Soundbites. These productions foster learning, insight, and the ability to perform. Today's topic is micro-purchases. Today we will discuss the applicability of the micro-purchase threshold, the competition requirements of the micro-purchase threshold, and determining price fair and reasonable at or below the threshold. Under normal conditions, the micro-purchase threshold for supplies and services is $10,000, but in certain situations, applicable statutes lower the threshold. One such instance is when the wage rate requirements, formerly known as the Davis-Bacon Act, apply. When it applies, the micro-purchase threshold is $2,000. The wage rate requirements includes requirements for construction, alteration, or repair, including painting and decorating, of public buildings or public works that requires that contractors and subcontractors pay their laborers and mechanics employed under such contracts no less than the locally prevailing wages and fringe benefits for corresponding work on similar project in the area. The other instance that causes the micro-purchase threshold to drop is when the acquisition is subject to the Service Contract Labor Standards, or SCLS, formerly known as the Service Contract Act. When the SCLS is applicable, the micro-purchase threshold is $2,500. The SLS applies to all government contracts and its subcontracts at any tier, where the principal purpose of which is to furnish services in the United States through the use of service employees as defined in FAR 22, except as exempted. On the other hand, there are situations where the micro-purchase threshold goes up. It goes up to $20,000 for contingency operations to facilitate defense against or recovery from cyber, nuclear, biological, chemical, or radiological attack or support Secretary of State or USAID provision of international disaster assistance. If the contingency operations or Secretary of State or USAID operations are outside of the United States, the micro-purchase threshold is $35,000. Lastly, for acquisitions of supplies or services from institutions of higher education or related or affiliated nonprofit entities, or from nonprofit research organizations or independent research institutes, the threshold is normally $10,000, but higher threshold may be determined appropriate by the head of the agency and consistent with clean audit findings. The competition requirements for micro-purchases are very flexible because, generally, no competition is required. The only way that competition is required is that the CO cannot determine whether the price is fair and reasonable. Even though competition is not required, the dictates of maximum practicable competition prescribe how the awards are distributed to the public. It prohibits COs from just continually giving awards to the same vendor, even though no competition is required. In the name of fairness to the public, the CO is required to distribute micro-purchases equitably among qualified suppliers to the maximum extent practicable. To streamline even further, the agency could establish BPAs with the limited terms and conditions required at this level of purchasing, and then just rotate the orders among the BPA holders. The determination of fair and reasonable price is also streamlined when buying products or services under the micro-purchase threshold. Price is assumed to be fair and reasonable when two or more quotations are received. According to one court case, a memo to file is not even required when two or more quotations exists. If only one quotation is received, the CO has various streamlined ways to determine prices fair and reasonable, including the use of market research, catalog prices, comparison to related or similar items, a CO's personal knowledge, a comparison to the IGCE or any other reasonable basis. Let's wrap this up. In this episode of Source Selection Soundbites, we discussed the applicability of the micro-purchase threshold. Second, we discussed competition requirements, and third, we discussed determining price fair and reasonable at or below the micro-purchase threshold. Thank you for watching another episode of Source Selection Soundbites. For additional information, check out some of the other videos in this series, other Productivity Partners materials, or our Source Selection Answer app that is available on the Google Play Store and Apple Store. In any event, thanks for watching, and see you next time.